Welcome to TouchPoints TV. I'm Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail TouchPoints, and I'm here today with Chris Lybeer, who's a Vice President in NCR's Retail Division. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So we're going to talk about some industry trends, and the first question I want to ask you is about your recent retail and consumer research. What were some of the key findings from that research?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it was fairly surprising to us when we surveyed what consumers want versus what retailers were delivering. The gap in expectations seems to be growing.
Really?
So consumers, I think because they are being enabled by more and more technology, are looking for those capabilities to be delivered by retailers. And I think retailers are going to have to work hard and fast to catch up to consumers' demands.
So although we know that retailers are aware that consumers are running things these days, they're not catching up fast enough, I guess, is that
I think
the conclusion?
So. I think so.
All right. So where do you think the retailers are today in terms of their ability to deliver an effective multi-channel experience?
Another area where I think there's a gap, I think what retailers are doing is trying very hard to deliver different experiences to consumers, whether it's mobile or e-commerce, or even in the store, kiosks, social media. They're working on those different omni-channel experiences, but there needs to be more energy into bringing them together in one consistent experience. And that's the feedback consumers are really sharing with us for the most part right now.
Consistency, I think,
Yep.
is the key word there.
Yep.
Right, yeah. So what would you say, I know a lot of retailers are looking, across borders at, expanding into different countries. Are there any key differences that we need to be aware of as far as activities in the US versus other countries?
Yeah, I think there's always something to learn from the different regions. The US is very focused, typically operationally on the store, and I think the US understands that mobile is very important, but they've been more tentative in that area. Europe, for instance, has been much more aggressive on the mobile front, as well as Asia, and I think you'll find a lot more shoppers using mobility in those regions. And I think the US can learn to be more aggressive with mobile and take a chance there. And I think Europe and Asia probably can also learn from the US in terms of the focus on in-store capabilities and operations. It's kind of a flip-flop, but each of them can learn from the other. Yep.
So regarding mobile though, is it more a focus on mobile payment that US can learn from, or is it more a focus on other types of mobile technologies, websites, applications, that kind of thing?
Mobile payments an important and a really hot topic, and I think you can learn some from that, but at the end of the day, I think it's important to remember that payments are just the end of the transaction. It's really what's happening during the shopping journey. And I think the opportunity with consumers is what is that experience like during the shopping experience, and how can technology help that? And I think that's where mobility's got a lot of power, and I think you can look at what other countries are doing where they've got advancements in that area. And I think that consumers really want that, to be able to use technology throughout the shopping experience. Right. So I think payments can actually be a bit of a red herring. Too much focus on that takes you off in the wrong direction. How can you use mobility throughout the shopping experience, not just at the end of the transaction?
So this question is about differentiators. What would you say are some of the key differentiators regarding that effort, that omni-channel, multi-channel effort across different segments in the retail industry? So, are there key differentiators between how a supermarket retailer is behaving versus a general merchandise retailer or a big box?
As you would suspect, supermarket retailers tend to focus on couponing and offers. That's their history. Specialty and general merchandise retailers tend to focus more on the experience, and that's their history. They both can learn from each other in those areas, but what our research showed, the number one finding in terms of the gap between what consumers want and what retailers are delivering, is consumers actually want the retailers to understand their behavior and to allow them to personalize how the retailer interacts with them. So it's okay. Consumers are finally saying, don't market to me just as a generic person, but market to me because I like to buy, certain categories of food, or I'm a red wine drinker versus a white wine drinker, or I buy men's clothes but not women's clothes. Learn that about me, or ask me about that, and then market to me, add value in a timely fashion, but in a very personalized and targeted way. And I think across the board, it doesn't matter what segment you're in. Consumers are saying this over and over, but I just went through the holiday period, got signed up in a lot of programs as a result of my shopping. not one of them asked me those things.
Yeah.
So retailers aren't executing on that desire by consumers, and I think that time is really now to do that. And the retailers that do that well really are the favored retailers right now. And so I think there's a strong correlation there.
So given the fact that a fast-growing number of shoppers are using smartphones and those types of mobile devices for product research and price comparison and reviews, what do you see as the role of mobile going forward in the future of multi-channel commerce? And are retailers going to be left behind if they don't engage?
Well, absolutely, I think they are, and I think I'll tie it into my last answer. I think the most important thing to do with mobile is for the retailer to connect with the consumer at exactly the right time. Because now a retailer doesn't have to connect just when the consumer opens the Sunday paper or when they go to the computer to look something up. But while they're in the shopping experience, you know when they're standing in a certain aisle, you know when they've entered your space, when they pull up in the parking lot, and you've got an opportunity then, if you know about them, to reach them when it makes the most sense. But if it's 11:30 in the afternoon, you know that consumer likes to buy from your deli sometimes, and they're there for a shopping experience, and you offer them an opportunity to...
Your favorite turkey's on sale today.
Exactly. In fact, we know your favorite turkey. Would you like us to order it so you can pick it up when you come by?
Yeah.
And you go, wow, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds great to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your insights and about the recent research. And thanks to all of you for joining us on TouchPoints TV.